Good evening, folks. This is Andy Pedraza with Special Effects Academy. We're on the start of the week session in the Forex trading room for June 13th of 2021. We will be going through our standard agenda, look at the prior week, fundamental announcements, currency strength meter, fundamental announcements, major pairs on the daily charts, setups in progress, and a few words in conclusion. Starting with the ledgers, we had a bit of a drawdown on one trade that closed out losing on the long-term account. We still have multiple trades open, and it was not a deep loss, just normal losing trades closing out while we tried to keep them all winners. So we are up about 16% so far for the fiscal year, which is not bad at all. And of course, we have quite a stable of trades. On the intermediate term ledger, more of a flat week. We did have one trade close out as a loser, but it was a minor one. And again, we have a bunch of trades still open here on this account. And last but not least, the short-term ledger, we did finally close out the pound Canadian trade that we've had open for quite a while now. And we did take a not a bad profit, about 90 pips all told. So we're up slightly on this account. Notes and opportunities for improvement. It was a rather flat week with sort of a strong retrace on Friday. We'll have to wait and see how this new week opens. The market was really retracing as of Friday afternoon, and then the market closed. So no telling whether that is part of a longer term move or just a regular Friday retrace. Some USD recovery late in the week, again, mostly on Friday with the retrace, and that was a likely reaction to the G7 summit that was ongoing through yesterday. The pound is still strong despite some retracing also happening towards the end of the week, and it does look like we're in a trending season. As a reminder, even when something is trending in a direction, it will retrace every now and then. So you want to grab the bigger movement and not worry too much about the intra-trend retracements that can and will happen. Relative strength meter for the week, it was a pretty flat week. I think this chart did not get updated. It's still showing last week's results, but in general, the market did not move much. The dollar recovered somewhat, mainly on Friday, and that was pretty much the bulk of the movements. Fundamental announcements for the week. It is going to be a very busy week. We've got more than five significant events that we should be trading. There are a couple we're going to skip simply because the schedule does not match with ours, but there's still important events that you need to be aware of. We will be trading live the Reserve Bank of Australia meeting minutes tomorrow night. So we will be having our first trading session of the week later than usual. We have the ILO unemployment rate out of the UK happening also tomorrow night into Tuesday morning, 2 a.m. US Eastern Time. We will be skipping this one this time around. There hasn't been any significant movement as a result of the ILO from the UK in quite a few months, so we're going to just pass this one. Next will be the Wednesday reports and interest rate decisions out of the Fed. We've got quite a few things coming out. The FOMC actions, the Fed's monetary policy statement, the Fed's interest rate decision, all at 2 p.m. US Eastern Time. So we'll be trading that one live. And slightly later, 2:30 p.m., we have the FOMC press conference, which is probably a better mover of the market since we do not expect the Fed to change the interest rate. So that will be combined into one session. Later Wednesday night, we have the employment change out of Australia, which we will also be trading live. So the schedule on Wednesday will be shifted slightly to accommodate. Thursday, very early morning, we have the SNB's interest rate decision. We may or may not be trading that one. I've got it on the calendar for now, but it's just a very inconvenient time. And last but not least, we have the Bank of Japan's interest rate decision Thursday evening late. So we will be shifting the evening session to accommodate for that one as well. So again, a very, very busy week, very full of fundamental announcements. With that, we move into the charts. Oil continues in breakout territory. It now crested above $70 a barrel towards the end of the week. It had been toying with that level of resistance towards the middle of the week. And Thursday, Friday, it just broke through, ending the week higher than the $70. Have to see if that continues. There's no reason why it shouldn't. Once the trend is established, they tend to run for a very long period of time. Euro dollar, the euro was gaining against the dollar for the beginning of the week, and Thursday into Friday, it just collapsed and went back to where it had started. So, no net movement that you can see there from the prior low is pretty much at the same level, but it did do a very significant retrace at the end of the week. Pound dollar was mainly flat up from the same retrace on Friday, but did not break where it began the week. So more of a flat week for the pound dollar. USD JPY was mainly flat, but on Friday broke out slightly above where it had started the week. So it was a bullish week for the USD JPY, but not a significant one. USD Canadian, same retracement on Friday, breaking it out of a sideways pattern and retreating towards that trend line, which did act as resistance. Now, the Canadian dollar should continue gaining in strength, if only because oil is doing so well. Obviously, the movement on Friday was based on the dollar and not on the Canadians, and I suspect it was fallout from the comments made as a result of the G7 summit. So very eager to see how the week is going to kick off on all these dollar pairs, but very more so on the USD CAD. USD Swiss, you can see the same pattern. It was moving into Swiss's favor for the bulk of the week. Then we had that retrace on Friday, which almost, but not quite, brought it back up to where the week started. It did still end up bearish, but not by much. Aussie dollar, and I suspect the Aussie is played out. I've been saying that for a while. This does not shift my stance on that, but it had a pretty flat week until Friday when, as with all the other dollar pairs, it collapsed in the dollar's favor. And last but not least, on the dollar pairs, Kiwi dollar, same thing, ending the week actually slightly below its most recent low. So more of a bearish movement on the Kiwi dollar, and I think more of an opportunity for it to recover than on the other dollar pairs. If we're going to see the dollar sliding into weakness again, the Kiwi dollar is probably going to be one of the bigger movers, along with the euro dollar. With that, we move off the dollar pairs. Aussie Canadian had a pretty flat week, all told, so no net movement. Euro Swiss was one of the exceptions. The Euro Swiss did drop the entire week, ending at a significantly lower level than where it began, right above the next level of support. Not sure what's going to be happening next. It's getting very near the breakout territory towards the bottom. So if we do have a break of the support of the horizontal or the bottom of that wedge, we might be in for a ride to the bottom. Now, despite how large that movement looks, it was less than 100 pips, so not a big mover. It just looks very large in the scale of this chart. And the scale was pretty much set by some very, very long candles that happened back in January and into last year. So the scale on this chart is a little bit skewed. Euro pound continues trending flat at the bottom of the Kumo and right above a significant level of support. No significant change. Euro JPY retreating from the very top of the chart, had quite a drop Wednesday into actually Thursday into Friday after once again breaking above the final level of resistance. For now, it ended the week in a retreat, but still very, very bullish, still above every level of support that's on the chart. Euro Canadian flat week, very uninteresting. Pound JPY also a very flat week, but it remains very much at the top of the chart, so very bullish. Aussie JPY, same thing, a flat week. All told, it's still above the Kumo. It's right at the top of the chart, but I suspect if there's one JPY chart that is going to move sooner and stronger in the yen's favor, it's probably going to be this one. The Aussie is tapped out. Euro New Zealand is starting to look like a reversal of the previous downtrend. So we have it not only crossing the cloud and staying above it for a significant period, but we have all the other indicators starting to point up. So very likely we're going to be opening up a long-term trade on the Euro New Zealand sometime this week, just to let it play out. It's going to have a very, very wide stop loss, seeing as we have to target pretty much the bottom of the chart. But we have a big, big payoff in the realm of about, I'm going to say 1,500 pips at the least on a trip towards the top, and it might even keep going. So we will be analyzing this pair very, very carefully as the week begins. And at some point, we are going to pull the trigger on that trade. Pound Canadian still tracking sideways, but towards the higher part of the sideways range. I still think this is a good bullish play for at least a resistance test, even if not a trip to the top, but we'll see. I did take profit on the short term account simply because enough was enough. And I'd rather take that margin and put it towards something moving quicker than this pair. But more importantly, we did take close to 100 pips of profit on that trade. So not bad at all. Pound Swiss is also tracking sideways. It has crossed the Kumo on the sideways movement. So it is technically giving a bearish signal, but I wouldn't trust this one yet until it breaks support or resistance. I'm perfectly happy trading it in either direction. And last but not least, the pound Aussie made a very, very strong bullish move in the past weeks and has since then been bouncing between the top and the next level of support going down. It's still very, very bullish and not surprising to me. I have been saying that the Australian so one of the better movers among the pound pairs has been the pound Aussie as a result of that pairing of a strong pound against a weak Aussie. This one may still have more room to move towards the top. That is it for our chart set of we see in progress. No significant change from the past weeks. The pound remains in breakout territory. The USD is crashing, but it did hit the pause button last week. The Australian looking played out, but still holding on. The yen, it will come back. And when it comes back, it's going to give some magnificent opportunities. But the key question is when. We're not trying to predict when this is going to happen. We just have to be ready for when it does. And last but not least, the CAD still in full strength mode, riding on the back of that oil movement. And that is it for this session. Parting words. And this is something that I realized in the very, very recent past, I'm always tweaking what I do, both privately and publicly. Special Effects Academy will always be a work in progress. But I did realize recently that I may be guilty of trying to fit square pegs into round holes. I know perfectly well what works for me, obviously, since it's working for me. But what I do nowadays probably wouldn't have worked for even for me as recently as 10 years, maybe 5 years ago, because I wasn't where I am today in many aspects. A key one of these being financially. My finances have really bloomed in the last 5 years. My trading, my real estate investing, my other businesses on the side, they have really been going very well, which allows me to take advantage of even more opportunity. And I really do want to help as many people as I can, but I am going to have to segment my market somewhat in my offers. What I do, the way I do it, isn't necessarily going to work for somebody who is not where I am right now. However, I started at the bottom and I made my way to where I am. So what I have to do is start making some offers to people based on where they are. And obviously for that I need to identify where they are so I can put the right offer in front of them. I can help everybody. I can't help everybody the same exact way. Someone starting out is not the same as someone who is already financially healthy, and I'm nowhere near the end of my path either. I'm sure I'll be going on to bigger and better, and then things will be changing at that stage as well. So what stage people are at matters. People stages matter ultimately. Those are my parting words for this week. Thank you so much for being here with us. Do I have any comments or questions from anyone? Okay, folks, then thank you very much. We will be back tomorrow later than usual. For those of you who are subscribers, check your email for the schedule for the week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great rest of a weekend.